Welcome back to Youth on YouTube. I am so excited to talk to you about our topic today. We're going to be talking a little bit about identity. We're going to be talking about the Christ in you, and we're going to be talking about Christ in us when we are in crisis. It's going to be good. So excited. So we're just getting into a series right now that we're going to call Crash the Chatterbox. It's based off a book by Stephen Furtick. It's super good. It is such a good read. It is such a good book. You should absolutely read it, but since I know you won't, we're going to preach through it anyway. And it talks a lot about identity. Now, the difference between the coronavirus and like COVID-19 and a cold is found when they identify it. Like they have similar symptoms and they have similar signs, but they're different essentially, and they have to be identified as different so they can be treated differently. Now, there are some voices that you hear in your mind, and I know that sounds kind of crazy, but you know you do. Unless you're one of those people with a lack of inner monologue and you just see abstract things and say things out loud. For majority of us, and I believe this happens for you as well, you hear that voice in your mind that's constantly tearing you down and constantly telling you to look at things as they are and stuff like that. And today we want to draw the line, and we want to identify that voice versus the voice of God versus your own voice. And when you see the voice of God, which brings truth and life and freedom, it cancels out that voice. That voice, we're going to call it the chatterbox. Now, to give like a further explanation of what that is, Pastor Stephen writes in his book just an excerpt explaining exactly what it sounds like. So this is him, just a stream of consciousness, stream of thoughts. So book time with Cassie. The thoughts are flying so fast now I can't keep track, much less sort them out and put them where they belong. Thinking about these thoughts at all only seems to feed them. That's why they keep overpowering me, because I keep feeding them. I know this, but it never stops me from doing it. Not this time, not 10 years ago, and it won't be any different 10 years from now. I'm beginning to believe. This is so stupid. I'm being so stupid. It's only a light bulb. A burned out light bulb has turned into a mini mid-morning meltdown in my mind, and I can't find the switch to shut it off. The meltdown, I mean, not the light bulb. So I'm standing in the shower and the light bulb is out, and it's like the sky is falling. As soon as I stepped into the shower, I noticed for the third time that the middle light bulb was out over the sink on the other side of the bathroom. Now that I'm in the shower, stranded, phoneless, how am I ever going to put it into Evernote that the light bulb is out? With my pathetic attention span, what are the chances I'll remember to replace the light bulb after I get out? I definitely don't have time to change the light bulb. I'm already going to be 10 minutes late for this meeting if there's no traffic. I'm always running late for meetings. I'm a late person. It's because I hit snooze 3 times every morning because I'm spiritually apathetic. Pastor Mickey used to get up at 5 a.m. and spend 2 hours with God, and he said he who runs from God in the morning will scarce find him throughout the day. They should put that on a Starbucks cup too. Either way, God is gone for the day, and it's not even 9 a.m., and now I'm running 12 minutes late, and the light bulb is still out. I'm screwed. Who am I kidding? Even if I had time to change the light bulb, yeah, right, would I have a clue where Holly keeps him? Holly is his wife. Now that's really pathetic. What would people think if they found out about that one? The woman changes all the light bulbs around the house. What kind of example am I setting for my kids? Did I even pray with the kids last night? The night before that? Dunno. But I did Instagram that sunset shot with the kids at the Creep last Friday. So there's that cock-a-doodle-doo. The chatterbox informs me that I'm now 14 minutes late and I suck as a person. Now your chatterbox, especially in this season, might be a lot different than that. Unless you're one of our leaders, you don't have a wife, and you probably don't change the light bulbs at your house. But maybe you're taking a math test, and your pencil breaks, and it starts to build on all the things you've ever done wrong before that, and why you're stupid, and why you're never prepared, and why you suck, and all of the reasons that you suck. And maybe right now you're facing this coronavirus, and you just heard the news that it's going to be this way until June 10th in our state. And not only are you compounding the inner monologue of chatterbox that has been going on your entire school year of why you're not good enough at school, you're not smart enough, now it's being compounded with your chatterbox of why you're the black sheep in your family, and why you're the middle kid, and why nobody wants to talk to you, and why you always feel out of place. And I will tell you, I wasn't even the middle kid, but I felt like the middle kid. I felt most of those things that you're feeling, and that chatterbox goes on and on and on. And here's the thing about it that kills me. It makes such a great case by taking tiny pieces of truth and interlacing them with lies. So maybe your pencil broke and you weren't prepared with another one, and it wraps around it because you're an unprepared person, because you're never prepared. And it makes these generalities about you that you wouldn't even think of them on your own. And if you identified them, you realize they were ridiculous. But here's the thing about lies. Lies are not crushed by logic. Lies are crushed by truth. And the truth of Jesus Christ in this season of your life and mine, when it feels it wasn't supposed to be this way, and you have more time than you've ever had to address your chatterbox and to spend time with your family, whether or not you feel in place or out of place with them, and whether or not you feel like you belong there, and whether or not you feel like you're valued, and whether or not you feel alone, because you might have 10 siblings and you might have no siblings, and you might have your grandmother living with you, and you might be just you and your mom or just you and your dad, but you can still feel lonely. But here's what Jesus says about that, and this is what Jesus says about a lot of things, that you are not alone. You are not now, and you have never been alone, because he promises never to leave us nor forsake us. In the book of James, I read this and it honestly changed my perspective. A lot of us need a perspective shift in this season. Because can I tell you something? I know. There are so many things that you have lost, and I have lost things in this season that we thought that we would have, and we thought we were anticipating, and we were moving towards and moving forward on, because that's what we would have had in our normal life. But you and I allow the chatterbox to take one thing that's true, that you don't get to have that experience, and that you don't get to have some of the things that you anticipated having, and that you are stuck in the house, and then it starts to wrap around, and it's because you're like, you start to blame yourself for things that aren't your fault, and things that are your fault start to come up in ways that they don't belong there. And it kind of wraps around like your whole life is going to be like this. You're disappointed now. You will always be disappointed. This is just how life is. And it starts to translate into God's just not that good, you know? Like you can't depend on him for your joy or your happiness or your freedom or your peace. But I'm here to tell you that you and I deserve and need to take an identity and a perspective shift in this moment for this to be a valuable season in your life. This can be a valuable season in your life, because right now is the time. You have time like you've never had before to be with Jesus, to walk with him and to talk with him and to get to know him and to get into his word and his truth, to cancel out the lies in your life that have lived there dormant for far too long. So part of our perspective shift today is that this is a season that can have and does have joy in it. I'm not canceling out your feelings. I'm not saying that none of those things have happened. I'm not saying that you don't have a right to be disappointed. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that where the chatterbox would take a turn for this and make you wish for June and make you wish this was all over and make you fast forward in your heart and in your mind to when this was done, because then you can just live the next 2 months of your life miserable and just, keep your eyes focused on the end. You and I have the opportunity to learn how to be content in every season right now. Right now. And it might not feel good right now, but it has the ability to be good right now. It has potential. The book of James, chapter 1, verse 2 says this: "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." You get to have an identity check in this season. And I've heard a couple of people say it, and I thought it was so profound, and it was so good. A lot of people have called this season and the way that things are going right now a reset button. And for some of you who game, you know that a reset button is the most beautiful and the most horrible thing that's ever been invented. Because if you press it when you need it, and when you're at the end of your rope and you can't get past this level, and you get to go back to the beginning, and you get to start all over and work through that progress again, it's amazing. But you also lose all of the progress that you had already made. A reset button for you and I right now looks like spending unprecedented time with Jesus to combat the voices in your mind that have lied to you for far too long. Take this opportunity. I hope you get a paper cut. on your tongue. This is a season for you and I to experience healing. And in all of the places where you thought, like, oh, I would read my Bible so much if I had time, or if I didn't have this extracurricular, if I didn't have all of this going on, or if being at school wasn't piling up, if I wasn't crushed by the weight of anxiety, I would really turn to Jesus. If I wasn't crushed by the weight of my depression, I would really turn to Jesus. And I know that right now it feels like not only anxiety and depression, but all of those sins that you thought that you were past or that you thought that you were over, and everything that you thought that you either laid down at the cross or you're already past, now has a breeding ground like never before to rise up in your life, because you have unprecedented amount of time at home. But this can be not a breeding ground for that, but a breeding ground for healing, for God to step in and to speak into that not only are you not that, and does that sin not identify and not define you, but your anxiety doesn't define you, that your depression doesn't define you, and that when you learn what does define you and who he is and who he wants to be in your life, that you will experience healing like never before. Here's the thing about it, and this might be a little on the like tender side. I'm sorry if this comes across harsh, but some of you need this break, not just from youth group, but from your normal surroundings, to figure out who you are by yourself. I know, I am a firm believer that community is not only necessary, but it is important that when we come together as a church and we corporately worship the Lord, there is something of value to be found there. But I've watched some of you in that room, in that fellowship hall, and on Winter Advance, look around and watch what everybody else is doing when it comes to the Lord. And now you have an opportunity to look him in the eye for yourself, to figure out who you are in him and who he is in you. Because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world, and he that is in your crisis. The Christ in you is stronger than the man in that crisis. And you will not learn to overcome crisis. You will not learn to develop a strength and an inner spirit man who can handle stuff like this until you get alone with the Lord. Jesus himself got alone with his Father to be redeemed, to be healed, to be changed, to be refreshed. This is a season in your life where you and God get to spend unprecedented, undistracted amounts of time focused on one another, figuring out who he is and how this word changes you, and the strength that you already have and the power that you have in Jesus, even when you're not with all of your friends, even when you're not with everybody that you want to be, and you don't get to watch everybody else's example of faith, walking it out and figuring it out for yourself, developing and walking in your personal relationship with Jesus, because that's what stands the test of time. That's what lasts forever. And that's what steadfastness does. It develops your identity in him, your personal identity in him, knowing that God says, I am forgiven. God says, I am free. God says, I am changed. God says that in him I am a new creation. God says that in him I am more than a conqueror. God says that in him I can find the fullness of joy, and I can learn to be content in all circumstances, even when the chatterbox takes one thing that is true and wraps it in, you are lazy, you are stupid, you are apathetic, you are not a real Christian because you can't even seem to find Jesus when you're by yourself. You are all of those things. The truth of Jesus Christ cuts through those things to the core and says, you are mine. And he has no claim on you. So yes, we get to hit the reset button and go back to the place where we found our first love. Go back to the place before all of this alleged progress, all of this change happened, in terms of the web of lies being ripped and torn and shredded to be what it needed to be to fit around you, you know? And to see the truth again, to find healing again. There's a song, and I love this song. This song is so good, and my favorite version, it's called In the Garden, and my favorite version is from Johnny Cash, just because I feel like he sings it the best. And it's, the chorus is, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. Homework, go listen to it for yourself, because he's better than me. Nonetheless, being in the garden alone with him will change you. And it's not a matter of, Cassie, I don't know how to read my Bible. Cassie, I listen to worship music and it means nothing to me. It's a matter of showing up to your relationship with Jesus. And if you're like, Cassie, I don't really know how to read the Bible, or I don't have a Bible. If you don't have a Bible, reach out, contact us, DM us, put it in the chat, let us know. We want to send you one. We have a bunch around here. This is a church. So we would love to get you that. And we want to start reading the book of Romans next week. We're going to start, and every day, like Monday will be 1, Tuesday will be 2, kind of like we're doing 1 Peter right now when we finish this. We want to read it together as a youth group. I think Romans is one of those books where if you've never read the Bible before, it's like the Gospels. It's like, oh, you read Romans. It's what you do. I think it's going to be really fruitful, and I think it's going to inform your identity in Christ and seeing not only just how much he gave up for you, but just how much he loves you. So yeah, I am excited about that. I'm excited. I am not excited about disease. I'm not excited about loss. I'm not excited about the many people who passed away across the world, but I am choosing in this moment right now to make my perspective one of an ability to learn and having a growth mindset in terms of God has given me this season and I am going to live it to the hilt because I know I won't get something like this again, most likely. So go ahead and click that Zoom link. We're going to jump into small groups. We've got a lot to discuss today. It is a good Wednesday and a good day the Lord has made to talk to somebody about something. We're so excited. We've got breakout rooms this week. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. Small groups will be wonderful. And we can't wait to see you there. We can't wait to see you back here next week.